Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That's theme music, walk-up music, if you will. Means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related.
Dan, what's your walk-up song, huh? Remember when they asked Governor Pritzker that? He had no idea what that even meant.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mine is Now You're Messing with the Son of a Bitch by Nazareth. Kristen McQuarrie, friend of the show, former editorial page editor of the Chicago Tribune, you may recall, was reminded of an interview I did of her almost a decade ago.
Okay.
In 2015. My little Against the Current, which you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, which you should because of Kristen's insights on matters Illinois public policy related, including pensions. I mean, this is what's so great about this is it's a decade almost has passed since this conversation, and you tell me who is pushing this conversation now. Much less any public policy consistent with a recognition of the structural problems in the state.
You know, there are still people today, a couple days after the state's credit rating got dropped again, who still will defend the Democrats who had sole control of state government for 14 years. And over that time, the unfunded pension liability went from $43 billion to $111 billion. During that time, we had to kick poor people off of Medicaid because we couldn't afford it. I mean, I could go on and on, but the constitution of people to still be able to defend that political structure, I just don't understand. I don't understand, and yes, I find it frustrating, and it's not something that I can just turn off. It bothers me.
If only it bothered more people. That if I didn't tell you that was 2015, would you have been surprised if it was yesterday?
No.
Right. Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Ted? Do we have Ted?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Sorry, I had you on mute.
That's all right. So, Ted, 2015 Dateline, Kristen had pegged it at $111 million in unfunded pension liabilities. What's it today?
Well, it's at 144, so 144 billion, and that's just the state level, and that's just with their phony accounting rules. The number's much bigger. Just the other day, S&P put it at 172 billion, and then you got Chicago pensions and Cook County pensions, and CPS pensions and the downstate pensions. The number is big, and I tell you, we miss a voice like Kristen McQuarrie because she was one of the few that was willing to take this on. I think what's interesting too is that she mentioned 2015. I remember, I was living in Poland at the time, but I started to have a twinkling in my eye of coming back to the U.S. at the time, and I was thinking about Illinois. And back then, the pension liability was $16 billion. $16 billion.
What a terrible decision you made.
I chose a hard place to come back to, but and it's risen tenfold since then, and nothing changes. If anything, they want to hand out more benefits with the tier 2 discussions that are going on for those newest newest government workers who started in 2011. There's talk of increasing their benefits. So the problem continues, and the real issue is pensions are boring, people's eyes glaze over, but man, this thing sucks up money. It sucks up money in taxes. It sucks up money from other parts of the budget, and it just destroys the fabric of Illinois.
Well, and it's
budget issue, but
and to the point that Kristen was getting to back then, and this is the argument that has to be made, but there are few willing to make it. It's immoral. It's immoral what you're doing. This is why you can't provide quality health care, in part why you can't provide quality health care to people who are indigent and rely on Medicaid-supported health care. That's immoral. It is immoral to make promises that you know you can't keep. And that's what the political class has done for generations here. They know they can't keep these promises. They make them anyway. And the way that they finance the promises they can't keep to keep up the appearance that maybe somehow, some way, someday they could be kept is to liquidate people's homes. And that was the story that we picked up yesterday because of this Wall Street Journal piece over the weekend. And you picked up as well. Boy, if you go to wirepoints.org and look at some of the data that you guys put together from the Case-Shiller index in terms of home values over the last decade, over the last 2 decades in major cities. I mean, this is some eye-popping stuff. This is fun to read, unless you're a Chicago property owner, Ted. I'll let you take it from there.
Well, yeah, I really like that Wall Street Journal article because it said, watch out because the rich are getting whacked in Chicago, and the importance of that is look, there's a lack of demand in Chicago. Rich people want to be here less and less, and when they leave, they take their tax dollars with them, they take their companies with them. And that inspired us to look at the numbers we looked at a lot before and said, it's not just the rich people getting hit; it's everybody getting hit. These Chicago home values have lagged the rest of the country for more than 2 decades now, and you can see it. I mean, if it wasn't for Detroit and Cleveland, we would have the worst housing market among the biggest cities in the country. You've got places like San Diego, Los Angeles, Miami that their homes have risen 4 times, and Dan, you know a little bit about that. But in Chicago. They're up some, but they lag the rest of the country. But worse is if you look at since 2010, Chicago home values haven't even kept up with inflation. So people are losing money on their homes, and a lot of that has to do with pensions, as we started, which leads to property taxes, which leads to less demand for homes, and a kind of a value destruction of homes, and that's where we are. I mean, if you
property taxes in Chicago. We're hoping you're. Well, sorry to interrupt, but property tax in Chicago, you had a companion piece that this is the dot connecting that people don't do. What have property taxes in Chicago done over that time?
Yeah, I mean they're up, they're up 3.5 times faster than inflation. I mean there's all different kinds of ways to cut it, but right, they just keep going up a lot faster than incomes and a lot faster than inflation. And you have to remember, like the rich guys, like Ken Griffin can handle a $20 and $30 million loss. But the ordinary people, this is their nest eggs, right? Their homes are their nest eggs where they have their retirement money in, and just getting whacked. And these property values, property taxes keep going up faster than inflation, faster than incomes, and nobody gives a damn.
And the senior, exemption for property taxes is not a miracle to save this problem for a lot of people who are on fixed income. So what does one do, Ted Dabrowski? Do we all just throw up our hands and say we're out and move?
Well, I tell you what's cool, and I'm not, like I said in the piece, I'm not going to get too excited because it's hard to get too excited about anything positive in Chicago, Illinois. But what's interesting this time around, and part of it is that Johnson's such a bad mayor that everybody doesn't mind taking him on. But you have these aldermen saying, "What the hell are you doing with this budget?" They said, "Take us back to the pre-pandemic budget instead of trying to pass your budget with property tax hikes." And you had 17 aldermen who wrote a letter and said, find cuts, start doing furloughs, start doing some layoffs. They're not scared to say it, and that's the first time we've heard anybody in Chicago, push that kind of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, they might.
They're cutting programs, but not personnel.
Right.
I mean, that's more abracadabra math.
Right, and and a lot of times they're just cutting jobs that they were going to fill. That's not a savings, right? That's just not spending. So, but it is interesting. The dynamic feels a little different, but it's not big enough, and it's not going to make a difference. But it does show you that people are fed up. And you look at the immigrant crisis, and then you look at this. It's a better environment for us to stir the pot and look for change. The problem is that we don't have people who will step up and lead the real change. You can have some incrementalist stuff, but not real change.
These numbers, I mean, just have to give a couple examples for people. I mean, the point you made that you're losing money nominally. But before you even factor in inflation, your home over the last decade, over the last 2 decades, nominally, and then you factor in inflation, you're taking it in the shorts. looking at these numbers, just to give you some comparison, Austin, Texas, from 2010 to 2013 to 2023, that 13-year period, the real median value home growth in home prices, real median value, 180% in Austin, 178% in Phoenix, 156% in Fort Worth, 151% in Dallas, 133 in Charlotte, 126 in Houston, 118 in San Jose. Chicago, 30%. Growth in median home values over 13 years.
These are nominal. Just real quick.
These are nominal. These are nominal. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's right. So that's even worse. That doesn't keep up with inflation. So nominal growth in home prices. But I mean, Austin's nominal growth in median home price is 6x Chicago's in nominal terms. Now, of course, these are reduced as thanks for the correction, Ted, that when you include inflation. But this is the point about you're making about Chicago not even keeping up with inflation. That 30% change over the last 13 years obviously is sub-inflation.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're owning your home. That was your best asset. That was the one that you knew you could count on to grow. That eventually you'll sell it and you'll find something smaller. You'll take that money and live for your retirement. And that whole proposition is destroyed in Chicago, but not in the rest of the country. And that's what people don't get is what an extreme outlier we are across pretty much everything. And people say, "Hey, Wirepoints, why are you guys so tough on all these things?" It's because why
are you so tough?
Yeah.
It's
right.
the data. Why is the data so tough on us? I don't know. Why don't you think about that?
And damn it, if we're going to change it, if we're going to change it, we have to recognize that we suck. To speak like Tom Homan, we suck, and we can do phenomenally better. I mean, we have just amazing assets, but these politicians, you've got this long-running Democratic supermajority that they've controlled, Chicago for 93 years, Cook County for over 100 years, the state legislature for a majority of the last 25 years. It's we have to change how we do things if we want a little bit more prosperity for everyday Illinoisans and everyday Chicagoans.
Math is so mean, Ted.
I know.
Math is mean. Why does math have to be so mean to Chicago? That's not right. Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org. Thanks as always, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson here to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign. We've partnered with Food for the Poor once again to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're talking about a part of the world that continues to suffer from the effects of economic destruction and decline, political corruption, instability, gangs, high